This is Jennifer with Tiny Life After 50. Have you ever bought a kitchen gadget because it looked like it would make your life easier, only to find out that it takes up more space than it's worth? Well, when you live in a tiny house, kitchen space is precious. And after 50, I think we also start looking at things a little differently. We don't necessarily want more stuff, we want the right stuff. Things that save time, make cooking easier, and earn their place in our kitchen. So today, I'm sharing some of my favorite types of tiny house kitchen gadgets that can help you save both space and time without filling your cabinet with things you rarely use. And stay with me until the end, because I'll also share one simple rule I use when deciding whether a kitchen gadget deserves valuable space in a tiny kitchen. Number one, a multifunction air fryer. Let's start with something that can do several jobs at once: a good air fryer. If you're living in a tiny house, having one appliance that can handle multiple cooking jobs can be a huge space saver. Instead of needing a toaster, a small oven, and several different cooking appliances, an air fryer can often handle things like reheating leftovers, roasting vegetables, cooking chicken, and making crispy foods without turning on a large oven. And there's another benefit I really appreciate after 50: speed. Sometimes you don't want to spend an hour preparing dinner. You want something simple. You can cook a small meal without heating up the entire kitchen, and you're not left with a sink full of pots and pans. Now, I wouldn't recommend buying one simply because everyone else has one. The key is to choose a size that actually fits your lifestyle and your available storage space. Remember, in a tiny kitchen, counter space is real estate. Number two, an immersion blender. The next gadget is one of my favorites for a small kitchen: an immersion blender. A traditional blender can be bulky, heavy, and awkward to store. An immersion blender is much smaller. You can use it directly in a pot or bowl to make soups, sauces, smoothies, and other recipes. And when you're finished, instead of washing a large blender container, blades, lid, and several other pieces, you've got a much smaller gadget to clean. That's exactly the kind of kitchen tool I think makes sense in a tiny house. It does a useful job, but it doesn't demand an entire cabinet. Number three, a compact food chopper. If you do a lot of cooking, chopping can take more time than you realize. Onions, vegetables, nuts, herbs. Sometimes you just don't feel like spending 10 minutes standing at the counter chopping everything by hand. A small food chopper can make that job much faster. And unlike a full-size food processor, many compact versions are small enough to store in a drawer or cabinet. For me, the important question isn't, can I buy a gadget that does this? Because the answer is almost always yes. The better question is, will this gadget save me enough time to justify the space it takes up? That's the question I want you to keep asking throughout this video. Number four, a digital kitchen scale. This one might not sound exciting, but hear me out. A small digital kitchen scale can actually be incredibly useful in a tiny kitchen. It's compact, easy to store, and can help you measure ingredients quickly and accurately. But there's another reason I like a scale for tiny house living. It can help prevent unnecessary food waste. Instead of guessing how much you're using, you can portion ingredients more accurately. And when you're cooking for one or two people, that can make a difference. You don't necessarily need a big measuring system taking up an entire drawer. One small scale can do the job. Number five, a collapsible colander. Now we're getting into one of my favorite categories of tiny house gadgets: things that shrink. A traditional colander can take up a surprising amount of cabinet space, but a collapsible colander can fold down when you're finished using it. That means you can have something that's full size when you need it and much smaller when you don't. And that's exactly what we're looking for in a tiny kitchen. It's not necessarily about having fewer things. It's about having things that work harder and take up less room. Number six, a multi-purpose vegetable chopper or slicer. Here's another gadget that can save time if you actually use it regularly. A compact vegetable slicer or chopper can make preparing vegetables much faster. But I want to give you a warning here. There are some kitchen gadgets with 15 different attachments that promise to do absolutely everything. And before you know it, you've got a drawer full of blades and accessories you haven't touched in 2 years. So if you choose one of these gadgets, I'd look for something simple. If you're going to use 3 functions regularly, that's great. You probably don't need one with 20. Number 7, a small electric kettle. If you drink tea, make instant coffee, oatmeal, or other hot drinks, a small electric kettle can be incredibly convenient. It's usually faster than boiling up a large pot of water on the stove. And you're only heating the amount of water you actually need. For a tiny house, that can be a nice combination of speed, convenience, and efficiency. And because electric kettles come in compact sizes, they don't necessarily require much storage space. Again, though, make sure it's something you actually use. A gadget that sits in the cabinet 360 days a year isn't saving you anything. Number 8, a magnetic or wall-mounted kitchen storage system. Now, this isn't technically a cooking gadget, but I think it's worth mentioning because it can completely change how a tiny kitchen functions. When cabinet space is limited, look up. You may have unused wall space, the side of your refrigerator, or other areas where you might store lightweight kitchen tools. Magnetic strips can hold certain utensils, hooks can hold measuring cups or frequently used tools, and a small wall-mounted organizer can keep things accessible without taking up valuable drawer space. Of course, always make sure anything you mount is secure and appropriate for your space. But sometimes the best way to create more storage isn't to add another cabinet, it's to use the space you already have differently. Number 9, a small slow cooker. Here's one that can save both time and effort. A small slow cooker can be especially useful if you're cooking for 1 or 2 people. You can put your ingredients together, turn it on, and go about your day. And when dinner time comes, you've got a meal ready without standing over the stove. The key word is small. You don't necessarily need a giant slow cooker you might have used when you were cooking for a family of 6. Choose a size that matches your current lifestyle. That's one of the advantages of tiny living. You can stop buying things for the life you used to have and start choosing things for the life you have now. Number 10, the most important gadget, the one you actually use. And this brings me to the most important point of the entire video. The best tiny house gadget isn't necessarily the newest one. It isn't necessarily the gadget with the best reviews. And it certainly isn't the gadget that promises to replace 10 different appliances. The best gadget is the one you actually use. Before buying something new, I like to ask myself 3 questions. Number 1, how often am I going to use this? Number 2, how much time will it save me? And number 3, where am I going to store it? If I can't answer all 3, I probably don't need it. Because in a tiny house, every item has a cost. And that cost isn't just the money you spend. It's the space it takes up, and it's the time you spend cleaning it, and it's the frustration of trying to find somewhere to put it. Why this matters more after 50? I think one of the best things about getting older is realizing that we don't need to make life complicated. We don't need a kitchen full of gadgets. We need a kitchen that works for us. Maybe your cooking hasn't changed over the years. Maybe you're cooking for fewer people. Maybe you don't want to spend as much time standing in the kitchen. Or maybe you simply realize that having fewer things make your home easier to manage. And that's one of the things I love about tiny house living. It encourages us to ask, does this make my life better? If the answer is yes, keep it. If the answer is no, Maybe it doesn't belong in your tiny kitchen. So those are some of the kitchen gadgets and space-saving tools that I think can make tiny house living easier after 50. But remember, you don't need to run out and buy everything on this list. In fact, that's kind of the opposite of what I'm suggesting. Start with the things that solve a problem you actually have. If something saves you time, saves you space, or makes your everyday life easier, it may be worth the room it takes up. But if it's just another gadget sitting in a cabinet waiting for the day you might use it, you probably already know the answer. I'd love to know what you think. What's the one kitchen gadget you couldn't live without in your tiny house? Leave it in the comments because your idea might help someone else who's trying to make their small kitchen work better. And if you enjoy videos about tiny house living, downsizing, saving money, and making a smaller space feel like home, don't forget to subscribe. This has been Jennifer with Tiny Life After 50. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.